Hey guys, welcome to MacReddit. Today, I have compiled some of the most interesting Reddit stories for you. Let's dive into them without wasting any time. My ex-husband, David, 30-year-old male, and I, 27-year-old female, were married for 7 years and have a daughter, Mila, 6-year-old female, who lives with me. We grew up in the same neighborhood and went to the same school. He proposed to me in 2016 when I was in high school, and he was in college, and we got married after dating for some time. Apparently, we had a stable marriage, but it fell apart 6 months ago when I caught David cheating on me. While I work Monday through Friday, and typically get home around 6:30 to 7 p.m., David works remotely and stays at home all day. One day, he messaged me to share that he had spoken to an old friend of his, Emma, 28-year-old female, who had joined a company 30 minutes from us and was going to work the night shift. He told me that after learning about the difficulties she had endured, he had extended an invitation for her to stay with us until she gets her first salary and could rent an apartment. It was very difficult for me to decide whether or not to let a female friend of my husband live with him in our home alone for a whole month while I was not around for most of the day. My husband told me that she used to be his co-worker at his first job, probably more than 8 years ago. I have heard of most of his friends, met many of them at different ceremonies, and even visited a few, but I have never heard Emma's name, let alone met her. What really upset me was that he didn't ask me if it would be okay. Instead, he simply informed me that he had invited her. Nobody offers a homestay to any random co-worker out of kindness. It was a clear red flag. So, I soon made up my mind that I would not let Emma stay at our home. Upon arriving home, I inquired about the matter. My husband explained that Emma was in desperate need of help. He told me that both her parents and brother had passed away within a few months of each other a year ago. Her only remaining family member was her sister, who was working with the World Food Program and was on a mission to the Middle East. He also mentioned that she had recently gone through a breakup with her boyfriend. He said that she seemed very distraught during their phone call, and he didn't really know what to say or how to console her. He felt really bad for her, especially because she was mostly alone now. So, he accepted her request to move in with us for a month. As I had already made up my mind, I told him that I could not allow a female friend of his to live with him at our home in my absence. After hearing this, he pretended to be disappointed and said, "Don't you trust me?" I told him that I trust him, but I didn't know about Emma's intentions. I said that grief and a recent breakup could lead to unpredictable behavior, and I worry that allowing this might invite trouble into our life. After some mild argument, my husband agreed with me, and then he called Emma and told her that I was not comfortable with her living with us and refused to let her move in. I appreciated that my husband respected my feelings and didn't pressure me. However, I worried that I might have hurt him because his empathy towards Emma seemed genuine. I thought, if he had an intention of cheating on me, why would he have told me about Emma? He could have met her somewhere else, and why would he ask me to let her move in? Then, I reasoned that although I knew most of his friends, but not all of them, and that she might be among those friends whom I didn't know. With his 7 years of apparent loyalty and these logical reasons, I couldn't help but feel guilty. After reflecting for the next 2 days, I finally apologized to him for misunderstanding him and hurting his trust and suggested inviting Emma to live with us. David asked me whether I was sure. I nodded my head and hugged him. This was the greatest mistake I made in my life. My husband accepted my apology and casually proceeded to invite Emma to move in as planned. I met Emma at dinner, and she told all the problems she had allegedly faced. Everything seemed normal for the next month, but doubts arose in my mind when my husband requested me to let Emma stay with us for another month. When I asked why, he said that Emma could not rent the apartment because she had to send a large chunk of her salary to her sister back in Vermont, who had recently been in a car accident. It was clearly a lie, because this contradicted his previous story that his sister was working in the Middle East. Though it was a huge red flag, I didn't confront him and tell him what he had told me about Emma's sister a month ago. Instead, I decided to play along. That night, I couldn't sleep and spent the entire night regretting my decision to let Emma move in with us. The next day, I took 3 days off from work to investigate Emma. I met her colleague Carol, 28-year-old female, who was her junior, both in the office and college. She revealed that Emma and David attended the same college, and David had proposed to Emma in 2015. However, Emma rejected him and entered into a relationship with another guy and married later on. This information was shocking to me because when David proposed to me in 2016, he claimed that it was his first proposal. After meeting Carol, it became clear that he had proposed to me only after being rejected by Emma, and all his coolness was fake. She also told me that Emma was a kinda nympho because she cheated on her husband multiple times, leading to their divorce. Then, she remarried, but ended up getting a divorce 1.5 years ago. After 2 divorces, she proposed to David. Despite being aware of Emma's past and being married, David accepted her proposal. To verify Carol's claims, I spoke to some other college friends of Emma, and they all shared more or less the same stories. Knowing all this, I thought about how mean Emma and my husband were, and I was particularly angry at my husband for cheating on me without caring about the consequences of his actions on our marriage and daughter if his infidelity were to be revealed. I was shocked to learn that David, apparently a proud husband and father, had stooped so low for his pleasure and was on the brink of ruining our marriage for a bimbo. I wanted to throw Emma out of my home by grabbing her hair, but I decided to catch them red-handed. Next morning, I left for work as usual but went to my friend and returned home at around 10 a.m. and entered through the back door, where I found my husband and Emma in a compromising position on the same bed. My husband was utterly surprised to find me at home. I pulled Emma off the bed and kicked her out of the house. David hesitantly tried to stop me and continued saying that we should discuss the matter in a calm manner. When he grabbed my arm, I yelled back at him and said I would discuss it with him after throwing that effing prostitute out of my home. After I kicked Emma out of the house, I confronted David about his infidelity. Instead of giving me a straight answer, he began complaining about to avoid the issue. The argument quickly turned into a heated fight. Despite efforts from our families to salvage our marriage, the damage was irreparable, and we ultimately decided to end our relationship, and we soon got divorced. Following our divorce, David married Emma, and they currently reside in our former home. Now, I regret letting Emma into our life. If I had not allowed her to move in with us, my husband's relationship with Emma may not have progressed, and my life might not have been ruined this way. I always pray that Emma might dump David the way she dumped her 2 ex-husbands, so that he realizes what he has done to me. However, some of my friends say that people who wish bad things for others often experience the same fate. But I don't agree with them in this case, because my ex-husband is not an innocent person. Instead, he cheated on me and ruined my life, and hence deserves the worst possible fate. So, AITAH for praying that my ex-husband gets divorced? OP is not an AH, and she should wait for her husband's mistress to dump him. I am sure that she will eventually leave him. However, I believe all of this is the result of OP's wrong decisions and choices. If she had not allowed her husband's mistress to move in, she would not be in this situation. I would say OP is not an AH, but she is definitely emotionally vulnerable. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to Am I an A-hole, where a guy proposes to OP, a girl 8 years younger than him, and uses her for short-term fun. He even wrote in his journal that she was only suitable for short-term fun and not long-term partnership. One day, OP accidentally found her boyfriend's journal and read all this. When she confronts him, OP's boyfriend blames her for invading his privacy. Let's dive into the story. I, 23-year-old female, broke up with my boyfriend. Let's call him Mike, 31-year-old male, a month ago when I discovered his journal in which he had written many negative things about me and my family, and he had also mentioned that I was a psycho and suitable only for short-term fun and not for long-term partnership. When I confronted him about it, he dismissed my concerns by attributing my actions to my impulsive nature and accused me of invading his privacy. For context, the story revolves around my family, so let me first tell you about my family. I have 2 siblings, one sister and a brother. Let's call him David. My brother struggles with schizophrenia and has severe episodes at times. Schizophrenia runs in my family. My late grandfather had it, but my father did not, but the curse reappeared in my brother. Currently, I am live in New York, but I originally come from Pennsylvania. Before this, I used to live in my hometown but separate from my parents and would visit my family at least once a week. I love all my family family members dearly. This is the first time I have moved to another city, but I still make sure to visit them at least once a month. Here, I live in the university hostel. My ex-boyfriend, Mike, is a research fellow at a prestigious university in New York, and I am a master's student at the same university. I completed my undergraduate studies in Pennsylvania and recently started my master's here. I met Mike while preparing for a conference at the university. Mike is very charming and looks classically handsome. Any girl would want to have a boyfriend like him. We exchanged contact numbers as we were both part of the admin team. The next day, he texted me and asked to meet up in person. When I asked why, he said he would tell me in person. Thinking it might be about the conference or something else, I agreed and suggested we meet at the university cafe. However, he said he wanted to meet outside the university premises. Curious about the reason, I agreed to meet him for dinner at a nearby restaurant. Towards the end of the meal, he surprised me with a proposal, confessing that he had fallen in love with me at first sight. Though I had felt this way before, it was surprising for me, and I told him that I would take some time to make a decision. After dinner, he dropped me off, and later that night, he sent me a fairly long message expressing his feelings for me again. When I told the whole story to my best friend and colleague, she was also surprised, particularly because things were moving at an accelerated pace and there was a significant age gap between us. She said that he might have proposed to me for ulterior motives, and he could be in a serious relationship with someone else, and suggested that I must investigate him before making any decision. I was not worried much about the age gap, because it was not too significant given his charm, but his motives were a point of concern for me. So, I started investigating him, and after a week of research, I accepted his proposal. Now, I regret not investigating him more deeply, and this was a great mistake of mine. Initially, my boyfriend was amazing. I had never seen a man before who cared about his girl so much. Despite our age gap, 31M and 23F, we had open conversations about our expectations and timelines, which made me feel at ease. We even progressed to intimate bed activities after 2 to 3 weeks. He would text me daily, plan frequent dates, and surprise me with thoughtful and sometimes very expensive gifts. He also showered me with compliments whenever we were together. After 2 months, we visited my family together and spent a weekend with them. I felt incredibly fortunate to have him in my life. A month ago, for about 2 weeks, I was quite busy traveling for family stuff. Actually, I had gone home to attend a family wedding, but suddenly my brother experienced a very traumatic schizophrenia episode, and we took him to the hospital where he remained admitted for 10 days. I had to stay there to look after him and comfort my parents. When his condition improved slightly, I returned to New York. However, when I arrived, my boyfriend didn't come to receive me, stating he was very busy ATM. It was not a big deal, but I noticed a huge change in his behavior after my return from home. He started acting cold and distant. He only sent a few brief texts a day and avoided spending time together. When we did hang out, he seemed more interested in physical intimacy, but halted his usual aftercare entirely. I did mention being hurt by this and asked multiple times if he was okay, but he brushed off the matter, saying he has been tired for some time. Though the answer was not satisfactory, I had to agree because I didn't want to push him too much. This behavior continued for almost 2 weeks. During this time, I asked him multiple times about the reason for his behavior, but he always attributed it to being in a busy work season and lacking sleep. I sensed in my bones that he wanted to break up, but I couldn't understand why. After another weird sleepover, I was willing to try anything to bring back that original man in him. So, in the morning, when he got up and went for a shower, I immediately made his bed and started folding his laundry. I was doing all this to be helpful. When I went to put his clothes in the dresser, I stumbled upon a journal. When I accidentally opened it, I saw my name on a page. Curiosity got the best of me, and I couldn't resist reading it. I discovered numerous pages detailing his dislikes about me. He criticized my genetics, particularly mentioning schizophrenia, which runs in my family. A lot was about how his future children could not inherit my genetics. Though some members of my family struggle with this illness, most of them are highly functioning doctors, engineers, and scientists. I am also a very competent scholar, conducting research and studying on a Fulbright scholarship. While it may come across as self-praise, it is simply the truth. Then he went on about my schizo brother, which cuts deep, considering he had made me feel so comfortable opening up about something that has been difficult for me. Next, he went on to disparage my capabilities in motherhood down the road. His journal concluded with him deeming me suitable for short-term fun, but not as a long-term partner. When I confronted him about it, he dismissed my concerns by attributing my actions to my impulsive nature caused by the genetic effects of schizophrenia. I told him that while it was wrong to read his journal without his permission, I asked him about his perspective on me. I asked him if he didn't like so many things about me, why he was in a relationship with me, and if he was using me for his physical needs only. Despite his own deceitful behavior, he shifted the blame onto me for invading his privacy. He pushed me aside, saying I was having a schizophrenia attack and that he didn't want to fight with a psycho. It was not only deceitful, but also disrespectful and humiliating for me. I felt like I was being treated as a nympho or a sex worker, and all his gifts and dinner bills felt to me like the price of my body. After breaking up with him, I left his apartment for my hostel, regretting my decision of not investigating deeply about him and my prompt response to his proposal. After reaching the hostel, I told the whole story to my friend. She said he was wrong, but she also said I should not have invaded his privacy. I told her that I came across his journal accidentally, and I didn't have any intention of invading his privacy. I asked her whether reading someone's journal without permission was worse than cheating and using someone for physical pleasure while keeping them in the dark. This left her speechless. After remaining in depression for more than a week, now I am recovering from the shock and trying to accept what had happened to me. I recently learned from some colleagues that he still claims I'm the one who's in the wrong for invading his privacy. So if you made it this far, what do you think? AITAH? OP is not an AH. Instead, her boyfriend is being a big jerk and a hypocrite. Instead of apologizing for what he has been doing, he is blaming OP for invading his privacy. OP is correct in stating that reading someone's journal without permission is not worse than cheating and using someone for physical pleasure while keeping them in the dark. It is truly insulting and humiliating. Additionally, OP's friend is also an AH. What do the MacReddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to MacReddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. AITAH. For asking my husband for a divorce because he left me during surgery? Hi guys, welcome to MacReddit, where tales are not just told, they come alive. As always, today I have brought a very interesting Reddit story for you. I hope you will enjoy it. And don't forget to show your love gives me energy. Let's dive into the story. I, 29-year-old female, have been married to my husband Liam, 31-year-old male, for 4 years, and we don't have any kids due to complications in my fallopian tube. Last month, I felt some lumps in my breasts and rushed to the hospital, only to discover that those lumps were non-malignant tumors. However, the doctor advised me to have them removed before they become cancerous, so I decided to undergo a lumpectomy. During the surgery, I fell ill, and when the nurses tried to contact my husband, he didn't answer the call. My husband returned after 1.5 hours following my operation. When I asked where he was, my husband became defensive and said, "I went out and got lunch, and then I was getting gas because I was low from driving you around." His words hurt me deeply, and in the evening, I told my husband that I should get a divorce if he was no longer in love with me. However, my sister says I am under the influence of anesthesia, and there is nothing wrong with our relationship. Background: I met my husband at a mutual friend's birthday party during my university years. We soon became good friends, and after 6 months of friendship, we entered into a relationship. This relationship continued for 3 years, and eventually, we got married. Liam was fond of children, so after our marriage, we decided to have a baby in the first year of our marriage. However, despite continuously trying for over a year, I couldn't conceive. When we saw the doctor, there were some complications in my fallopian tubes, and there were very slim chances of me getting pregnant, even after the surgery. This news was very disappointing for us. However, we decided to go through with the surgery, but it was all in vain. Now, it has been 4 years since our marriage, and we still don't have any kids. Last month, I felt some lumps in my breasts, and when I had a thorough checkup, the lumps were diagnosed as non-malignant tumors. However, the doctor advised me to have the tumors removed because my mom had breast cancer and the tumors could become cancerous. So, I decided to undergo a lumpectomy. My husband took the day off work to drive me to the hospital for surgery. However, the surgery was delayed by about 3 hours. This was tiring, and my husband was getting impatient. When the surgeon finally arrived, she said the surgery would take about an hour. After she left, my husband mentioned he hadn't eaten all day and planned to leave to get lunch while I was in surgery. I wanted him to eat, but also didn't want to be alone, so I asked if we could pick up food for him on the way home. He gave me the impression he would stay, and I was wheeled away for the surgery. 30 minutes later, I was awakened by a nurse who told me that the tumors had been successfully removed. But during the surgery, my BP plummeted to 70/30. My lips had turned blue, and she was trying to contact my husband, but there was no response from him. I was very sick in my room. I was bleeding through my internal stitches, coming in and out of consciousness, and vomiting. My surgeon also called him, but he did not answer, and he returned after 1.5 hours. I am grateful for the kind nurses who tended to me and provided reassurance. My husband returned after 1.5 hours later and drove me home. My husband became defensive when I asked why he left me alone. His explanation for leaving was, "I went out and got lunch, and then I was getting gas because I was low from driving your ass around. The surgery was supposed to be an hour. How was I supposed to know your heart could have stopped?" I told him he had one job, which was to stay with me and tell me what the surgeon said. I could get over him leaving if he was apologetic or remorseful, but I was shocked at his words. I thought his love for me had faded away because I am unable to get pregnant, and that if my husband was really careful, he should not have left me alone. It is painful for me. How could my husband leave me alone when I was in the operating theater? Could he not wait 1 more hour? Could he not get the gas after my operation? And why did he not attend the doctor's call when he knew I was in the theater? In the evening, I told him that I wanted a divorce if he was no longer interested in me. My husband said he had always been in love with me and would always be, and asked me to calm down. He also apologized for what he had said earlier in the hospital. His response confused me, and I started crying. When I discussed it all with my sister, she said I was being dramatic and emotional because of the effect of anesthesia, and that I should be positive and not think much about what happened at the hospital, and that I should not have asked my husband about the divorce. Now, I am just confused and don't know what to do. So, am I the AH? What do the MacReddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to MacReddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Hi guys, welcome to MacReddit, where tales are not just told, they come alive. As always, today I have brought a very interesting Reddit story full of spaghetti and sauces. I hope you will enjoy it. And don't forget to show your love gives me energy. Let's dive into the story. AITAH, for telling my roommate that I don't care how she likes food to be served because I am not her servant. I, 21-year-old male, and my girlfriend Emma, 20-year-old female, live together with our roommate, Abigail, 31-year-old female. My girlfriend and I are in university, working towards our graduation, and we also have part-time jobs to cover our expenses. Our roommate has a full-time job. We all contribute equally to our monthly house food budget, but we often cook separately, though we occasionally share meals. In addition to the shared groceries, we sometimes buy and cook our own food items, which we are happy to share with each other. A couple of weeks ago, I made spaghetti for myself and my girlfriend. It was a quick and easy meal because I was feeling lazy. Our roommate was working late that night, so my girlfriend and I ended up finishing all the spaghetti. When she came home, she noticed the dirty pot in the sink and expressed disappointment that there was none left for her. I offered to save some for her next time, but her response was unclear. Despite this, I made a mental note that I would save some next time I cooked spaghetti. A few days later, I cooked some pork chops. My girlfriend wasn't hungry and didn't eat her portion, so I offered it to our roommate when she came home. She accepted, but when she put the food in the microwave to warm it up, she made a face as the smell hit her. She tried to hide her reaction from me, but I could tell she wasn't thrilled. She took the food into her room to eat, which is not unusual for her. But in the morning, I noticed she had put that meal in the outdoor dustbin. When I saw the food in the dustbin, I got very angry and told my girlfriend about it. I wanted to confront her, but my girlfriend asked me not to. We didn't even tell her that we knew she had thrown away the food we offered. Everything is going on the way it was before, except for the disappointment in our hearts. Since then, whenever we're in the kitchen together and I'm cooking, my roommate has been hovering over my shoulders and trying to give me advice on how to season my food. Sometimes her advice is helpful, as I see cooking as a continuous learning experience, and I'm open to suggestions. However, she would give me attitude whenever I didn't follow her suggestions. This behavior of hers pisses me off, and it was subtle and unspoken until yesterday. My girlfriend and I were making spaghetti. At that time, our roommate was also at home, and she asked us if she could also have some. We said yes. When I make spaghetti, I keep the noodles and sauce separate so everyone can choose how much sauce they want. Our roommate has seen me make spaghetti before, but this time she said I made it the white people way. She said I should mix the sauce in, and I told her that wasn't how I make it. She told me that she liked it better when it was pre-mixed. I told her I don't care how she likes it because I wasn't cooking it for her and that I am not her servant. I made it clear that when I cook, my girlfriend's preferences are the only things I consider because the food is being made for us, not for her. If she didn't like it and wanted pre-mixed spaghetti, she should cook it herself, and there is nothing stopping her from eating that. She got upset and walked away. Later in the evening, she said that she was expecting such rude behavior from me, and that I was a jerk for not behaving politely with the people who were sitting at my table, meaning they were my guests. I told her that I don't care what she thinks and feels, and brushed her aside. However, now, I think things could have been sorted out differently, and perhaps more calmly. So, am I the jerk? OP is not an AH, and OP's roommate is in the wrong for meddling in someone else's business. However, OP could have handled the situation more politely when their roommate was eating at their table. The way OP retorted is not justifiable given the situation. This is my opinion, and this is how I see things. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. AITAH for having my former landlord arrested because he broke into my home when I was gone and had put me through 3 years of hell? Hi guys! Welcome to Mac Reddit, where tales are not just told, they come alive. As always, today I have brought a very interesting Reddit story for you. I hope you will enjoy it, and don't forget to show your love gives me energy. Let's dive into the story. For 3 years, I, 27-year-old male, endured a terrible landlord named Daniel, 44 years old male. Throughout that time, he made my life miserable, pushing me to my limits. Eventually, I left his house, but I took pro-revenge while leaving. My landlord was a weird middle-aged man whose wife and children had dumped him, forcing him to live alone. He owned 2 apartments, residing in one and renting out the other, where I was a tenant. He made my life miserable by constantly harassing me. He stole my dryer and other household items from the common area, made me pay for a plumbing repair that was considered normal wear and tear, and even attempted to break into my home. When I sought legal advice after receiving a letter from him about a parking spot, he retaliated by trying to charge me an extra $150 per month. The list goes on. Now, this apartment was far from nice. I found out that the plumbing was illegal, the porch had severe safety issues, the ceiling paint was constantly falling down, the gas heater was not up to code, and there were other problems as well. Finally, my landlord's demand to raise my rent by $500 per month was the final blow. I was not ready to pay a penny more than what I had been paying. Instead, I wanted my landlord to decrease the rent of the apartment given its condition. Due to the lack of proper maintenance, the apartment seemed to have been abandoned. The day he talked to me about increasing the rent, I gave him notice that I would be leaving the apartment. However, I called the building inspector before I left. I told him everything. The porch didn't have a permit and was not up to code. I also mentioned the plumbing and heater problems. I went on and on. The inspector visited the next day and took measurements. Each violation could result in a $500 daily fine until resolved. It was satisfying to see him under scrutiny by the town authorities. As I was leaving, my landlord told me that I would have to pay for the renovation of the building, or else he would involve the police. On the day of my move, I proactively went to the police to inform them. When the landlord came by to threaten and harass me, I called the police, and they confirmed that I was within my rights and not required to pay any money. Not only this, I informed the police that he had broken into my apartment while I was gone and nailed my door shut. The police arrested him on site, and now they are charging my former landlord with a felony for breaking and entering my home. Now, I live in a peaceful apartment, and the landlord is a nice guy. He is the same person who asked me to post this story on Reddit. However, a friend of mine says, I am an AH for doing all this, but I don't think so. I did to my landlord what he deserved. So, am I the AH? OP is not an AH, and he did the right thing, which the landlord deserved. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to MacReddit for a daily dose. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to Am I the A-hole, where OP's younger sister is planning to name her baby after the deceased son of their older sister, who has been mourning since the death of her son. OP's younger sister said she wanted to honor their nephew by giving his name to her son. But the reality is that she wants to hurt her older sister because her older sister is married to her ex-boyfriend. OP reveals her younger sister's plan to her older sister, and this results in a massive fight between the two sisters. It is full family drama. Let's dive into the story. I, a 29-year-old female, have two sisters, Emma, 31, and Ava, 28. I have been married for 5 years, but despite continuous efforts, we have not been able to have children. My older sister got married 2 years ago and had a son 4 months ago, whom she named Austin. Unfortunately, her son passed away 2 months ago. She was overjoyed when he was born. Since his passing, my older sister has been devastated. My younger sister, Ava, got married 1 year ago and is pregnant with her first child. Recently, she found out that she is expecting a boy, and she is very happy. Another important detail for context is that my younger sister wanted to marry Henry, 31, who is now the husband of my older sister. When she proposed to him, he rejected her and told her that he was already in a relationship with our older sister. We didn't know about it because they had not announced their relationship. Last week, I was at my little sister's house, and we were discussing her plans for her pregnancy and the baby. She mentioned that she intends to name her son after our older sister's deceased son and keep it a surprise. When I asked her why she was doing this, she explained that it was a way to honor our older sister's son and strengthen the bond between the two sisters. I found it to be a strange idea, and I told my little sister that I didn't think it was a good idea because our older sister might not find it honoring her son. Instead, it could make our older sister more devastated and hurt her. But my little sister was not ready to change her plan. Though my little sister claimed that it was meant to honor our nephew, I doubted her intentions. I realized she was not doing this to honor our nephew. Instead, she wanted to see our older sister devastated because she had been rejected by the man who was my older sister's husband. I knew my older sister would be even more depressed than she already is if our little sister named her son after her deceased son. So, I went against my little sister and told my older sister. As I expected, she was pissed. She said it was incredibly disgusting and selfish to do that, knowing how fresh it is for her, and that she does not want to see a baby with her son's name in the family, which I agreed with. She was very grateful that I told her before he was born, because she said she doesn't know how badly that would have triggered her. The next day, my older sister confronted my younger sister and asked her why she wanted to put salt on her wounds. When my younger sister tried to explain that she wanted to honor our nephew, my older sister told her clearly that she was not honoring her son. Instead, she was trying to hurt her. My younger sister started weeping and said that she had no such intentions. But my older sister said if she didn't change her mind, she would cut all ties with her, and then left. At that time, my younger sister was not sure who had told my older sister about all this, but my niece, my brother's daughter, told her that it was me. So, when she learned about this, she confronted me and said I was jealous of her because I was barren and didn't want to see her happy. I told her clearly that I was not jealous of her, even though I didn't have any children. I just didn't want my older sister to be devastated and depressed anymore. I didn't want to fight with her, so I left. However, after 2 days, my little sister appeared at my home without informing me in advance and started weeping in front of me. She was very emotional and said that I was the reason our older sister was not speaking to her. I was angry with her because she had called me barren, but I got emotional and forgot all that she had said to me 2 days ago. I asked her if she would not name her son after the deceased son of our sister. I would try to reconcile between them, but she told me that she would name her son after our nephew at any cost. I was surprised by it. I told her that on one hand she wanted to hurt our sister, and on the other, she wanted to be on good terms with her. I told her she was a horrible person for still going through with this, knowing how much it hurts our older sister. She said I was the seed for all this messed up situation, and she started to confront me again, saying I'm being an a-hole for telling our older sister since it was supposed to be a surprise at birth, and that seeing her nephew with her son's name would make her realize it's a good thing. I am just confused and unable to understand what my little sister wants, and I don't know how to handle her. Am I an a-hole for making my sisters fight? What should I do? OP is not an AH. Instead, her little sister is a bit of an AH with a confused personality. I would rate her a 3 on the AH scale of 5. I am not giving her a 5 because I don't know her real intentions due to her two opposite behaviors. Additionally, OP is an impressive personality because she wants to reconcile between her sisters despite her little sister calling her barren. Let's now move on to another Am I the AH, where a couple unintentionally spoils the surprise proposal of a couple by congratulating them before the proposal. This happened back on July 4th, but people are still sore about it. My girlfriend's cousin, let's call her Miranda, invited us to her place for a BBQ. A few days prior, Miranda posted a picture on Instagram of her and her boyfriend George. It was a photo of him on one knee proposing to her. The caption read something like, "I said yes. Can't wait to marry my love." She has a lot of followers and many people liked it and commented with congratulations. My girlfriend and I both liked it and commented as well. A few days later, the BBQ took place with George and most of the family already present. After settling in, we congratulated them, which led to an awkward silence. Miranda, George, and their parents appeared horrified. Miranda's parents exclaimed, "You told them?" as Miranda shook her head. The surrounding guests expressed surprise, asking, "You guys are getting married?" and offering congratulations. It became evident that the rest of their family was unaware of the engagement. The situation was uncomfortable, and Miranda and George seemed uneasy. Later, Miranda's mom angrily pulled us aside, revealing that the engagement was meant to be a surprise. George had planned to propose again at the BBQ, this time in front of the family. We explained that the engagement had already been announced online, but Miranda's mom informed us that most of the family members were not active on social media. The initial announcement was intended for friends and the internet. Later, George ended up proposing again anyway, but it felt so awkward. It seemed like it was supposed to be a big moment. The fact that everyone already knew kind of ruined it. We felt so bad. No one really talked to us for the rest of the party. Miranda and George wouldn't even look at us. When we left, we talked about how we shouldn't have said anything. Then again, we thought that it would have been weird if we congratulated them online and not acknowledged it when we saw them in person. We've been talking about whether we should have said anything. My girlfriend said no one from that side of the family has spoken to her since. We didn't do anything on purpose, but we are confused why girlfriend's cousin and her family is angry with us. AITAH, or in this case, are we? OP is not an AH in any way. OP and his girlfriend didn't know that the BBQ party was meant for a surprise proposal. It is their cousin's fault. She should have told them in advance that she and her boyfriend had arranged a surprise proposal for the family. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to Am I an A-hole, where OP experiences a traumatic breakup. And after her breakup, when she asks her male friends to hang out, they respond, "Is this a booty call?" This response from OP's so-called friends left her heartbroken and devastated. Let's dive into it. I, 31-year-old female, went through a difficult breakup that ended in a traumatic way. My ex-boyfriend, Oliver, 32-year-old male, got upset over something minor I was hurt by, and his reaction was so intense that my dog, who never sits in the bathroom with me, ran to the bathroom and sat beside the shower. I told my boyfriend that it's okay for him to be upset with me, but I asked him to consider the well-being of our dogs and not let his anger towards me affect them. I requested that he comfort the dogs and let them know he wasn't mad at them. However, he responded by yelling, "Why should I care about the dog's feelings when you don't care about mine? You care more about the dog than me." He then walked over and pet my dog so hard that she assumed a submissive pose and started to crawl away, while he said, "See, I'm sorry, Max." It really upset me. He got even more offended that I was making him look like the bad guy and suggesting he was being mean to the dogs. He angrily said, "I'm leaving." This was the 4th or 5th time he had stormed out in just the past week. I apologized and pleaded with him to calm down, as I had just finished getting ready for an event that he had wanted to attend. However, he was consumed by rage. He then left, slamming all the doors. When he left, I locked the door because I was scared. After locking the door, I noticed he had left his keys on the table, and shortly after, he returned and began banging on my door, aggressively shaking the handle, demanding his keys to be returned. I rushed to unlock the door, but he was so aggressive that he broke the lock, making it impossible for me to open it. He insisted that he didn't break it and accused me of overreacting and not opening the door. After some struggle, he managed to break the lock in the correct manner, allowing me to finally open the door. He came in and started demanding his keys. "Where are my keys?" Acting like I had stolen them. I said, "Right where you left them." He grabbed the keys, slammed the door, and left. As he was leaving, I said, "Don't ever come back here." It just slipped out. I didn't want to break up with him. My roommates were in the living room and heard everything. Besides them, 2 male friends were also present in the apartment at that time and witnessed the entire argument between us. Later, my roommates asked me if I was okay and mentioned that they had heard some concerning things and assured me that they wouldn't pry, but that they were always available to talk. I have known those 2 male friends for around 10 years, originally through work, but they are now mainly friends with my boyfriend and roommates. I don't hang out with them directly, but am friendly. One of them, Henry, 32-year-old male, is my ex, who ghosted me for years, but stayed friends with my boyfriend and roommates, and is back in town, so occasionally I see them in passing. Last week, my ex-boyfriend Henry asked to hang out for a bit this week. I told him that my boyfriend won't be around anymore. He responded with, "Wait, does that make this a booty call?" I was taken aback, since we aren't close at all anymore since he ghosted me for about 3 years. And because this breakup was devastating, and the first response I get is about smashing, I responded, "My heart isn't in my booty right now." And he responded with some other quip, and I hung up the call. My other male friend, James, 33-year-old male, who also knows about my fight with my boyfriend, sent a heartfelt long message about how I don't deserve to be abused. He then followed it up with, "Send bobs and vagine." This also felt extremely hurtful. I no longer want him in my life either. He alternated between, "I'm joking," and, "I can't help it, I have needs and miss you." I don't think my so-called friends see me as a human. They think of me as a sex doll. I want them banned from our apartment, but don't know if it is too much to ask my roommates. I want Redditor's opinion on 2 things. My boyfriend Oliver has been a nice man, however. For about a month, he has been very aggressive, but I don't know why. Deep inside, I don't want to break up with him, but I am confused what to do. So, should I reach out to my boyfriend? The other thing is, how to handle my so-called friends, Henry and James. The OP's relationship with her so-called friends, Henry and James, is complex, and it has and will always put her in difficult situations. The OP should inform her roommates about the behavior of these so-called friends and request that they be banned from the apartment. If the roommates do not agree, the OP should consider moving out and cutting off all ties with these friends. It is important to stand up for yourself. As far as OP's boyfriend, Oliver's behavior is concerned, it is not justifiable. However, if he has only been exhibiting this behavior only for the last month, OP should talk to him to understand the reason for his toxic behavior and work on addressing the underlying problem. Breaking up is not the only solution. You need to talk to your partner. Communication is the key to a successful relationship. Let's now move on to another Am I the AH, where OP's estranged father transferred all his money and property to OP after catching his second wife cheating and realizing he was wrong in kicking OP and his mom out of the home. He left his second wife and her children with nothing. Now, OP's stepmom is asking him to share the property. It is a very interesting story of broken bonds. Let's dive into it. The roots of the story go back 20 years when I was 13, living with my alcoholic father and terminally ill mother. My father was a horrific person, and he did so many bad things to my mom that I don't remember them all. When my mom was terminally ill, my father didn't spend a penny on her, and she died without any treatment. Instead of taking her to the hospital, my father used to yell at her for being so sick. My father was cheating on my mom, so he used to spend most of his money on his girlfriend, and after some time, he even stopped contributing to household expenses. The worst thing he did was he tried to sleep with my mom's sister while my mom was still alive. After my mother passed away, my father burned all the family photos of us. He also sold my mom's easel, which she had owned for most of her life and was sentimentally valuable, not just to me, but also to my aunts and uncles. My dad ended up damaging a lot of my mom's belongings when he moved her in. My aunts and uncles took them and stored them, and we went through them when I was 20. Following my mother's death, I moved in with my aunt, and my father and his second wife started living in our house. Over the next 7 years, I visited my father a few times, but our relationship was always strained. When I was 20, I moved to New York for a job, and that's when I decided to become estranged from my father. I didn't contact him, and he also didn't try. I changed my contact information and moved on. However, I stayed in touch with my maternal aunts and uncles, but I never asked them about my father. Despite this, they often updated me on what was going on in my father's life. Around 2 years ago, my father caught his wife cheating on him, which broke him. Instead of divorcing his wife, he secretly transferred the money he had to me and put my name on the deed of a family vacation home that he and my mom had owned prior to her death. That was the biggest chunk of everything he owned. He left his second wife and children with nothing. He also didn't own the house they were living in, and that we had all lived in before. It was his friend's house. I was never sure how it worked, but he never paid for it while I was living there. When he was on his deathbed, he sent me a letter where he told me he had given me all of that, so it was mine outright, and because he wanted to make up for his mistakes in a small way. After my father's death, his widow attempted to sue for a fair share of his assets. However, her case did not progress as the assets had been legally transferred to me before his passing. I did not attend the funeral and was surprised to hear from her. I still don't know how she got my contact information. She mentioned that I should take care of my family and want better for the children she and my father had together. She expected me to want a relationship with them. I made it clear that I did not consider her children my family as my relationship with their father had ended long ago. She argued that it was unfair for me to be so cold to my own flesh and blood, claiming they had been mistreated by their father and now by me. She insisted that I owed them something, but I disagreed. I ended the call and blocked her, but she continued to reach out through social media, calling me selfish and cruel and questioning my morals. So, AITAH, for refusing to give any of the money my late father gave me before his death to his widow and other children? The OP is not an AH, and he doesn't need to give a penny to his stepmom. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye-bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to Am I the A-hole, where OP refuses to help his adoptive parents financially because they left him to fend for himself after having their own children. OP's adoptive parents spent all their income on their biological children, but they are not ready to help their parents back. Now, OP's adoptive parents have reached out to him and asked for financial help. Let's listen to the story to see what happens next. My biological parent passed away in a car accident when I was 3 years old. After their death, I was adopted by a couple who had no children. They raised me as their own until they had their first biological child. After that, their behavior towards me changed drastically. Now they have 3 biological children, 28M, 27F, and 24F, and I, 36M, am their 4th son, but adopted. Growing up, my adoptive parents were always generous with giving money when asked, except when it came to me. I was told that I should learn to work hard and that I didn't need the new video game or toy. While my siblings could get whatever they desired, I was told that I needed to work for what I wanted. So, after high school, I started working a job and managed all my expenses on my own. After I graduated from college, I struggled financially because the rents were too high for me to afford in the area where I was working. When I asked my adoptive parents for help, they refused, and because of their refusal, I became homeless. After around 2 months, I met a friend who was living in a rundown apartment. He was also struggling financially and was not able to afford the rent for that rundown apartment. So, we decided to share the apartment. During this difficult time, I asked my adoptive parents for help multiple times, but they were not ready to listen to me, and they were busy helping their biological children and enjoying their life. My adoptive parents not only supported my siblings through college, but also provided them with lump sums after graduation to help them start their lives. They have been there to assist whenever needed. However, they never helped me. After years of hard work, I have become a successful businessman, doing very well for myself and living a luxurious life. All my siblings have moved out and are busy with their own lives, visiting their parents only occasionally. Meanwhile, My adoptive parents are now retired and facing financial difficulties. Their savings are dwindling, and they are very worried. When they asked our siblings for financial help, they refused, saying their incomes are only enough for themselves and they could not help. Last week, my adoptive parents reached out to me and said that they needed mine and my wife's, help. They mentioned how great they have been and how they never say no to any of us. I told them they never helped me with anything and that they preferred to see me homeless rather than assist me. They argued back, saying that it never happened and that I could have asked for help if things were that bad. I showed them screenshots of texts where I had brought up the topic after asking them verbally. My adoptive parents dismissed it and then told me that they are still my parents and that I am the most settled and could afford to help them. I acknowledged that I could help, but I pointed out that they hadn't earned it. I also reminded them that they are not my biological parents, but rather my adoptive parents, who left me to fend for myself after having their own children. They accused me of being spiteful and urged me to help them instead of letting them lose everything. I pointed out to them that they should ask their biological children for help, not me. My siblings were upset that I refused to assist and criticized me for being petty towards our parents. AITAH for refusing to help my adoptive parents out financially? OP is not the a-hole at all. OP's parents are being selfish. It is completely reasonable for OP to want to set boundaries, especially because his adoptive parents discriminated against him throughout their lives and didn't help him. On one hand, OP's siblings were getting complete financial support from his parents, and OP was left to be homeless. OP's adoptive parents must be ashamed for asking him for help. If I were the OP, I would have an open conversation with them and tell them how their actions in the past are impacting me and my willingness to support them. If they realized their mistake and apologized for the same, I would help them. Let's move on to another Am I the AH scenario, where OP refused to give up his table in a cafe to a pregnant woman because OP was studying at the table. This story is quite intriguing, so let's explore it further. I study at a cafe on Saturday mornings. The cafe is always busy, which helps me focus on my studies. The cafe's owner has known me for years and has no problem with me studying there. To show my appreciation, I often order some food and stay for 2 to 3 hours. The cafe has 2 large tables, many 2-person tables, and some counter seating. Even though I'm alone, I prefer to sit at a 2-person table as they are more comfortable. Yesterday, around 9 a.m., I was working at a table when a random pregnant woman sat across from me. I was a bit annoyed, but I decided to ignore it, thinking she might be waiting for her food. As I glanced up, I noticed she was conversing with a man in the line to order. The man mentioned that they might have to take their food to go as there were no available tables. Without directly addressing me, she gestured towards me, indicating that they might take over my table. This further irritated me, as it felt like I was being treated as an object that could be moved. I resolved to politely ask them not to sit at my table when the time came. After some time, the man brought the order and asked me to move to the counters so he and his wife could sit at my table. I declined, explaining that the counters were uncomfortable for me, and there wasn't enough space for my books and notes. The lady called me rude and inconsiderate, saying I shouldn't be there since I wasn't eating. I mentioned I had bought breakfast and a drink, and they could take their order to go. The argument escalated, and the man grabbed me by the collar and pushed me outside the table. Before a fight could break out, a worker intervened and also arranged a table for the couple. I felt so humiliated after this incident, I left the cafe. When I returned home, I shared the incident with my roommate, expecting her to side with me and console me. However, she was hesitant. She acknowledged that their behavior was rude and entitled, but also pointed out that I had occupied a table at a busy cafe for an extended period, suggesting that I could have moved to accommodate others. Now, I am so confused and feeling very low. So, I am here to seek an outside perspective on whether if I am AH? Everyone sucks. I don't understand why OP was studying at a cafe. Cafes are for eating, not studying. If he had to study, he should have chosen a library. OP is being entitled. As far as the couple is concerned, they also did wrong. If they needed a table, instead of arguing with the OP, they should have asked the workers to arrange a table for them. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye, see you tomorrow with some more spicy fries. Welcome to r/relationship, where OP boyfriend restricts her from going to gym, swimming, and concerts without him, and he always monitors her current location, despite the fact that OP has never cheated on her boyfriend. OP needs your advice. I, 25-year-old female, am feeling uncertain about my 2-year relationship. My boyfriend, Henry, 31M, constantly assumes that I am cheating on him or doing something wrong. My boyfriend is quite strict in our relationship, and I'm struggling to understand my feelings about it. He has told me that he doesn't want me to go to the gym, swim, or attend concerts without him because he doesn't trust me to reject advances from other men. For context, I have always been faithful to my boyfriend and have never flirted with another man during our relationship. Going to concerts is important to me, but he doesn't allow me to go, even with friends. He has said that if anything were to happen, it would be my fault for putting myself in a situation where a man could touch me. He believes I shouldn't do things that make him uncomfortable. Whenever I spend the night with a friend, or choose to stay home instead of at his place, which is rare, he picks fights with me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I currently work as a dental assistant, but my true passion lies in the film and media industry. Unfortunately, my boyfriend does not support this career change, and it has become a major point of contention between us. He is concerned about me working with a predominantly male workforce and feels insecure about potential flirtatious interactions. In our last fight, he said it's not that he doesn't want me to do it, he just wants to feel more secure in our relationship and know that I'd be mean to people who try flirting with me. I find myself constantly trying to reassure him, but it never seems to alleviate his concerns. I always inform him when someone approaches me in public, yet he often assumes I am somehow responsible for their advances. I don't understand what to do. My boyfriend has my location and he consistently checks it. Last week, one of my colleagues asked me to drop her off at her home as her car had broken down, and I agreed and went to drop her. Her house was just 5 minutes from our office, but it was in the opposite direction of my house. When I reached home, my boyfriend asked me where I was. I told him that I had gone to drop off one of my colleagues. He immediately asked who he was and accused me of cheating on him, then started abusing me. I tried to tell him that it was my female colleague, and I was not cheating on him, but he didn't listen to me. He accuses me of things often with no reasonable evidence. I know he loves me, but sometimes I feel like a child being scolded. I don't see my friends or family much anymore, because he gets upset when I make plans with them. I work 12-hour night shifts 4 days a week, so he feels like it's taking time away from him when I do anything else on my off days. He also obsesses over my social media and thinks I post for male attention, which really upsets me. I don't know what to do. Can you guys give me practical advice on it? OP's boyfriend is not quit strict. He is a toxic bull, and OP is not in a relationship. Instead, she is in jail, Guantanamo jail. I don't understand why OP is still with that man and why she does not just leave him and live the way she wants. OP says her boyfriend loves her, but I don't see any love in their relationship. There is only toxicity everywhere, and it seems like that man treats OP as a sex doll. If you love someone, you don't restrict them and make their life miserable. Instead, you try your best to make them happy, free, and confident. It is commensalism in which that OP's boyfriend gets his bodily and egoistic needs filled, and OP gets nothing but mental tension. I suggest OP leave him as soon as possible. If OP does not stand up for herself, she will lose herself in the journey of trying to make her toxic boyfriend happy. If I were she, I would choose liberty, absolute liberty. Let's now move to Am I the A-hole, where OP's wife is forcing him to take his stepkids and their friends for their summer vacation activities. However, OP is not ready for it because his stepkids have been abusing OP's biological kids and saying hurtful things about him. The biological father of OP's stepkids also attacked OP in the past. I, 42-year-old male, have been married to my wife Olivia for 8 years, and we have 2 children together, a 6-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. She also has 2 children, a 12-year-old girl and a 14-year-old boy, from her previous marriage. My wife's ex-husband didn't want to divorce her, but she was not ready to live with him due to his toxic behavior, drinking, and drug abuse. He tried to reconcile with her multiple times, but she always rejected him. After their divorce, she entered into a relationship with me. When her ex-husband learned about it, he physically attacked me and tried to harm me, but I escaped. I wanted to file a lawsuit against him, but my wife asked me to forgive him because she didn't want more trouble. After dating for a year, we got married, and after marriage, my wife's ex relocated out of the state. Her ex-husband attempted to sue for custody of my stepchildren, but the court ruled in favor of my wife. However, the court allowed him to meet the children in the presence of my wife at his parents' home, or my wife's parents' home. In the last 8 years, he has had dozens of meetings with his children. And because of these meetings, my stepkids have adopted their father's negative attitude towards me. And they hate me. Initially, my wife supported me and prevented me from being portrayed as the bad guy, but she eventually stopped intervening. She asked me to let her handle the situation because she feared that my involvement would escalate her ex-husband's anger if the kids reported that I was parenting them. I told my wife that if this were the case, I would not interact with her kids and would not consider them when planning for our own kids. However, my wife got angry and said that I was breaking up the family. I told her clearly that her children don't consider me a part of the family. They want her and her ex-husband together, and they have even explicitly expressed this desire multiple times. They also repeat hurtful things their father says about me. In this situation, I don't consider her children part of my family. Last weekend, my wife had plans with her office colleagues, but she also agreed to take my stepkids and their friends to their summer activities, and I was supposed to have the afternoon with our bio kids. However, at the last moment, she asked me to take her kids and their friends to their summer activities because her ex was not available. When my stepkids heard her asking me, they protested and said that they didn't want to go with me. They also said hurtful things about me, so I refused to take them to their activities. Upon my refusal, my wife got mad and said I couldn't let our kids down. My stepkids yelled that they weren't my kids, to which I responded, "That's the answer." I stuck to my plans with my bio kids. Now my wife says I am being an AH for not caring about our kids, and that I was a bad husband and father. She accuses me of not treating the children well, and says that it's because of my past behavior that my stepkids don't respect me. I am tired of the hurtful comments from my stepkids and my wife's demands to bond with her children. I am confused. How can I be an AH? Do you think I am an AH? OP is not an AH. Instead, OP's wife is an AH. She is responsible for the toxic environment at home, and it is also because of her that OP's stepchildren insult him. She should learn to respect her partner, and also teach her children to respect him. Another reason for the toxic behavior of OP's stepkids is that they have been having regular meetings with their father, and these meetings are also not good for the welfare of the children. I suggest OP talk to his partner and tell her that this behavior of her children is not justifiable, and they should come up with a mutually agreed solution. Communication is key. Don't forget it. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.